Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Dateline Downtown's podcast. This is Ted Shull, the editor-in-chief. I'm here with Jason Rivas, section editor.
Hello, everybody.
And we have two very special guests today. We're here with University of Houston Downtown President, Dr. Bill Flores.
Thank you so much for inviting me today.
Thanks for coming. And Student Body President, John Locke.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks for being here, gentlemen. It's great to have you on the show, Dr. Flores. We've had President Locke on the show many times, but it's an excellent opportunity to have you, and we welcome you to come back anytime.
Excellent.
The first question I had was, do you see UHD students at a disadvantage when entering the workforce or graduate studies compared to other Houston area college students?
Well, I think that's an excellent question. And we are obviously over the last period of time working to build a reputation of the university, and we have. But the real marker is how students get employed and what happens to them when they apply for graduate school. The state of Texas 2 years ago, they commissioned, actually the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board commissioned an independent analysis with data from the Texas Workforce Commission of what happens to graduates of 2-year and 4-year universities. And the report found that of all colleges and universities in the state of Texas, after 6 months, and also at 1 year, the starting salary of UHD graduates was the third highest in the state.
Oh, wow.
Higher than Texas Tech, higher than A&M, higher than UT. So that's first. Secondly, when you look at the number of students that start with us, go on to law school, to medical school, to PhD programs, master's programs, they get admitted all over the world. And sure, just like any other institution, there are people that apply that don't make it.
Yes.
And that's just like every other university. I've had friends, in fact, one friend was telling me that his son applied to law school 3 times and couldn't get in. So I will just say that it's a Tier 1 institution.
Sure. Excellent. Thank you. You go ahead.
You touched earlier on the QEP at the General Assembly. I was wondering if you could expand on the strengths of the QEP, particularly in the liberal arts divisions. I can understand it in some aspects, but we'd really like to know your thoughts going into classes like philosophy or history, sociology, how it could be beneficial.
And maybe it would be good to just kind of explain the QEP itself and then kind of relate it back to that.
Thank you, John and Jason. I really appreciate that, because the QEP is a quality enhancement program. It's a plan that we have to submit to our accrediting body, which is SACS, the Southern Association of Colleges, and it's the committee on colleges. What every university, as part of their reaccreditation, they have to pick a topic based on data that will show student learning improves and student performance and achievement improves. One of the things there were many topics the committee looked at. They narrowed it down to 2. They recommended one of them. Actually, they recommended both, but they leaned toward one, which is the one I ultimately selected, which was community engagement and writing. We're really looking at critical thinking, communication skills, solving complex problems. These take place in every discipline, whether you're in the College of Business or you're in philosophy. There's opportunities for students to engage. And in fact, if you think of it from the standpoint of ethics takes place in business. It takes place in philosophy. How do you apply ethics? There's plenty of examples in that you can debate, but you can also investigate. You can also get involved and look at. Whether it's a local community college or a local school, there are issues almost every day. Are funds being used appropriately? Were decisions made? Ethical decisions about healthcare. on insurance, on surgery, etc. So every discipline, and that's just in the area of philosophy. In history, there's opportunities for students to work in the collection of materials in primary sources. I'll give you an example. When I was at Cal State Northridge, one of our history faculty, who was doing research in Natchez, Mississippi, came across in the basement of a church some old records. Well, it turned out to be the largest collection of slave records ever found. And so we took history students every year. It became something that became the National Park Service adopted it as a site to preserve. LSU, Ole Miss, they would send students to come and do research on that. But they also did collections of stories that they published. They made presentations. They went to historical societies. Now that necessarily isn't public service on one level, and yet it is. The hours they spent as volunteers going through those records created a tremendous resource, a treasury for the country. And that was something that was just stumbled on by a history professor.
And this whole community engagement QEP kind of ties in with the whole high impact learning experience. What does high impact learning really mean to you?
It really gets down to hands-on, applied learning. You just think about driving a car. You can read all about it from the manual, but until you get behind the wheel, same thing. I was learning how to be a co-pilot of a plane, and until I actually got behind the planes and had the wheel in front of me, I couldn't do. You can, because now you're looking at the fuel, the altimeter. You're making decisions, and you start to understand flying. I think the more you can apply what you learn early on, and it's going to be in different settings. What we're doing, for example, with the Buffalo Bayou Service Project, we're having some of our students and our faculty work with students from Harmony, from Yes Prep, middle school students, high school students. They're going to have a chance to go out take a boat ride in the bayou, learn about what grows out there, what's the water. They're going to analyze the water. They're going to see how germs develop. They're going to see how you might take a water bottle and use things that you find in nature to filter that water and make it clean. Not clean enough to drink, but at least to get some of the impurities out. So all that it encourages them to major in the science field, and hopefully to pick UHD as a university of choice.
Interesting. I was wondering, how was the QEP put together? Like, who was all involved? Particularly, I'm curious as to the students involved, because I myself as a student didn't really hear of any types of focus groups or anything that would bring in students. So I was just curious as to how the focus groups for students, faculties, and anyone else involved were put together.
I'll let John respond to that first, and then I'll go from there.
Yeah, so the administration, as they normally do, they reach out to SGA to get students that would like to be a part of a committee. Historically, we do that for the shared governance committees, which is available for any student. And generally, we use our email list that we collect throughout the years, and we send Gator Blast as well in order to recruit students for particular committees. And within this one, we definitely recruited within our SGA people that we had on our email list directly for their, basically because it was definitely time sensitive as well. We were definitely putting things together, and there's a timetable that we have to stand by in order to have, faculty, administration, everybody, it's all hands on deck in order to implement this QEP. And there's so many different aspects of that ride. So it has been an interesting experience for myself to see so many different school leaders come together on this one topic, right? And you got different personalities and different ideas. But within all that, that we were able to find things that were agreed upon and that we can all agree to and see the benefits for our university.
And just to add to that, this whole process started almost a year ago. We began having discussions on campus. Many of them were with faculty. We engaged some discussions in departments, some of which include students. And for example, in the barrier courses, we actually involved students about what they were learning, what was the improvement, because all that was data that went into the process. Committees were formed to present proposals, and we solicited proposals campus-wide. Most of that was at the faculty level because SACS wants you to begin with the faculty to identify data as to where there's been problems in learning and what you can do to improve. And there was serious debates. Some people wanted intensive writing. Some people wanted high impact practices. Some wanted barrier courses, service learning by itself, and then community engagement with writing and critical thinking. And so all those topics got presented. We had a strategic planning meeting in the summer. It was presented there, presented to Faculty Senate. There were open meetings. I think we could have probably done a better job of making sure that students were in some of those open hearings. But the idea was we tried to get as much input as possible.
Thank you.
And one thing I'll just mention, what I do think is unique about this QEP, and that is very positive, that aligns directly with our mission statement as a university, and which is to engage students in high impact practices and engage with our community, and it goes right along the line with what we stand for, I guess, as a university, as stated in our mission statement.
And it also builds off of what students do naturally here at UHD. When I was being interviewed as being considered for the presidency, I was also interviewing UHD because I was very happy where I was in New Mexico, working for the governor. But what really impressed me was the voice of the students. They asked me questions about sustainability. They told me the issues that were important to them. And I was so impressed when they were talking about the kinds of volunteerism that they do. And that wasn't something that a faculty member was telling them to do. That was something that the students were doing. So we're building off of something that in many respects is student-driven. Look at what SGA does. Every year that you select the best student organization based on the volunteer hours. That's an amazing thing. I've been on many campuses, and I've never seen that. Now, that doesn't mean it's not done at other campuses. It's just not done as much and part of the culture of student life. The other thing is there's data that shows that when students get engaged, when they do it in an organized fashion, when it's tight in their classes, they're more likely to graduate on time and successfully. The other thing is that we have been in the President's Honor Roll. We President's Honor Roll for community service and engagement. In 2012, the university was selected with distinction, one of the highest awards, and then this year selected for the Carnegie as a Carnegie Engaged University, and the only one in Houston and only one of 5 in Texas to be selected. And that says a lot about the university.
Is there any concern that the community engagement approach, while it will definitely produce quantity in writing, is there a mechanism to enhance quality as well?
Well, I think that's a very good concern. We're looking at least in this proposal, writing throughout the curriculum and in the last year tied to your discipline. So you may do a market plan in business. You may do a science project and a poster session that you present at a national conference. The writing will be different based on discipline and appropriate to that discipline to help people in their careers and their professions. But the other is we want quality writing.
Yeah.
And it's part of our of our general education curriculum. So we're working on that as well. We want to make sure that there are the right writing courses and that faculty are prepared for them, because, if and supported properly. So part of the reason we didn't pick writing as the sole focus is there was some disagreement as to how we would do it and do it uniformly. This way it's done, each department selects the appropriate course and the way of evaluating writing in their discipline, and prepare students accordingly.
Very good. Switching topics. Recently, we did the UH Systems Day in Austin. I'm just curious as the effects do you believe will have on the proposals and the budget concerns that UHD in particular has?
Well, first of all, this is not the only opportunity for us to go to the legislature, and I have been before, and I will be again visiting with legislators. But the truth of the matter is, this is a very different legislature than we've ever had. They're starting off, the governor, in his State of the State, Governor Abbott made it very clear that his priorities do include higher education, but predominantly research universities and increasing the number of universities that are qualified for Tier 1 status. In today's newspaper, there's an article about Governor Abbott is concerned with higher education. That's the way the article reads it. Then he talks about research universities and community colleges. What's left out in that scenario is the four-year university. So we are very concerned, because that's where most students that go to college and graduate with a four-year institution attend, is in the comprehensive universities. That's the majority of public higher education. So we want to make sure that they're well-funded and that they're successful. And I hope through the legislative process that we will accomplish that. I was tremendously impressed by the students who went with us. They did a fabulous job of advocating for the interests, not just of their own interests, but for the interests of the university. They also took the opportunity to talk to legislators about things like the DREAM Act, for example, because we have 485 students at UHD that would be affected if the Texas DREAM Act was altered and students had to pay out-of-state tuition. That would mean overnight that their tuition would increase, and their cost to the university would increase by $11,000. Likelihood is most of them would drop out because they would not have access to either federal or state financial aid. So there's huge consequences here. The issue of guns on campus. Some students talked about that with legislators and said, look, at that doesn't make me feel safe. That makes me feel very worried. And so this was an opportunity for students to be able to engage. Sometimes they met with legislators, sometimes they only met with staff. But either way, to talk about their concerns.
I would like to, sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no, go. Oh, I was just going to say that's why SGA takes the Texas Student Association initiative so seriously. It's because it's about getting the voices of students from across Texas and making sure their voices heard in Austin by the people making the decisions there. We want to make sure that when they're writing these bills, they're trying to pass pass this legislation, that they're taking students' voices at heart and they're keeping them in mind, because they're an integral part of this process, and these are the people that they're going to affect. That's why I believe TSA is a great initiative, and it's a way to unify those voices and in an effective way be able to present that to policymakers in Austin.
And I would like to commend the faculty and students that were involved in UH Systems Day. I was there on firsthand to watch and participate, and I was very impressed by how well spoken and educated all the students and faculty were when speaking with the staff or the representatives or senators that were present. So thank you very much.
Well, and they made some sacrifices because the bus almost broke down,
Yes.
and it was sort of a jostly ride. But I've got to say, even more, I was tremendously impressed by the students, the alumni, the faculty and staff that were present. They were committed to UHD, supportive of UHD, and really did a great service and represented UHC in a wonderful way as ambassadors.
Just wrapping up, Dr. Flores, I just wanted to get a sense of your vision for the University of Houston downtown in 10 years' time. Do you see more buildings, more graduate programs, things like that?
Well, just think first of all, this is the 40th anniversary of the university, and I've taken the approach that we don't want to just celebrate the past, we want to build the foundations for the future, and to think about the next 40 years. So what we have been doing, we did a master plan, we presented that to the regents, we've gotten authorization to try and purchase land that would expand dramatically the size of the university. Give opportunities for our students so that down the road we can have a student union, we can have a science and technology building, which is the main request. We have a tuition revenue bond, we have a request for the legislature to fund that building. But also to have open space where we can have perhaps tennis courts, a soccer facility, etc. This is important for building a university that reflects the needs of our students and responds to it. We want to be able to have a new student union, with the possibility of dormitories down in the future. Having that land allows us to grow and allows us to develop in a contiguous way that really preserves our university's future and our ability to serve the downtown. We serve all of Houston. The majority of our students don't come from the downtown. We have a lot of students that are working people that work in those buildings right down the street, and they come from the downtown, but they don't live downtown, and most of our students don't either. So we have a responsibility of serving all of Houston. We're doing that online. We're doing that at community colleges where we're offering degree completion programs, but we're going to need to grow. Just think, by 2025, there'll be somewhere between 6 and 7 million people in Houston. There'll be a need for UHD probably to be 20,000 to 25,000 students in the next 5 years. We plan on being 18,000. So figure by 2025 we'll probably be 24,000 students. And in order to do that, we have to have more buildings.
Sure. Excellent.
Nothing else to add?
It's a pleasure to have you both on. We welcome you back anytime. Thanks for coming. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yes, it's always fun coming here, and I love talking with you. And I think it's a very important initiative that y'all took on of building another way for students to get access to information and to be able to have a platform in which we can get the word out to students. I think that's very important, that we have our students informed, and y'all are on the forefront of that. So thank you for y'all's service.
And building upon that, if you have not registered yet, don't forget to register for Coffee with the President. There's several more sessions coming up in the near future.
And that's right. There's one today at 3 o'clock and 40,000 windows.
Is that free coffee? Is that
free coffee and, and free treats?
Wow.
But the other thing too is if you'll send this to me, I'll put it on my Facebook page and get it out throughout the community as well.
Thank you very much for that.
Awesome.
Thank you.